Hi everyone, this is Chef Ara from Harlem Road, Texas Barbecue. I'm a classically trained chef in French cuisine, but I do all styles of cuisine. Obviously, I own a Texas barbecue restaurant in the city of Richmond, Texas. Today we're gonna play on a traditional North African dish, which is done in Tunisia or Morocco. It's called the Tagine. This is a Tagine Vessel. It's a clay pot basically that the lid comes to a point and it has a hole in it that lets all the steam escape. It's a very traditional dish. You can make it with any variation you want. Today we're going to do by utilizing some of the meat that we had from the trimmings of our brisket. If you don't have the trimmings, you can use a very lean cut of meat like a chuck roast and cut it up in little cubes. I have about a pound of it that has been marinated overnight with some julienne onions, and then to it you add your harissa seasoning and your Tagine seasoning, which at the end of the video you'll have a little recipe on to make both of those yourself instead of buying a pre-made one. Your choice, whichever way you want to go with that. So in this, basically I have all my ingredients ready here to go. We're going to slice up some fennel, some mushrooms, julienne, some more onions. We have some tomatoes, some chickpeas that I've soaked overnight in water and then I've boiled it. You can buy the canned ones if you don't want to go through all that trouble. It's easily done. So we're going to start by working on our fennel. We're going to cut the stalk off and reserve the leaves and the stalk. I'm waiting for the base of my tagine to get nice and warm. To it, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to melt that in there. While that's melting, we're going to start slicing our fennel. So I usually take the root off, cut it in half, and do nice thin slices. Fennel is very aromatic. It's got a great flavor to it and great aroma. It's fantastic for this dish. So as my butter is melting right here, okay, it's almost ready. It's all melted. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our meat in there and we're gonna brown it. I'm going to get a nice color to it, allow the meat to release all the juices that it has in there and get a nice color. So this has already been marinating overnight with 2 teaspoons of the Tagine seasoning and a teaspoon of the harissa pepper. You can add more or less depending on how spicy or how flavorful you want it to be. Notice how this is starting to turn a beautiful brown color. And if you notice, it's releasing some of the liquid from the meat. We're going to brown that and we're going to build a nice little crust on the meat. It will leave a beautiful crunch at the bottom of the tagine dish, which will deglaze the pan with a little bit of the beef stock that I made earlier. This smells amazing with that tagine seasoning and the harissa. It's now releasing all that beautiful aroma of the nice spices that are in both of those. Right at this point, once the meat is slightly browned up, I'll add a little bit more of my tagine seasoning to it. Notice I haven't added my garlic to it yet. I'm waiting for the meat to start building that beautiful brown crust to it, and once I have that, that's when I will add my garlic. I do not want to burn the garlic, so that's why I wait until that point. As you can see, it's starting to release more liquid. Once that liquid is completely gone, that's when I start adding my garlic, saute it for an additional 45 to 60 seconds to release all that beautiful flavor and aroma from the garlic. So as you can see, this was almost covered in liquid that the meat had released, and it's starting to thicken up really well, and it's reducing, and what it's doing is fortifying all those beautiful flavors from the onions, the spices that we added to it, And it's at this point that I add my, once it gets to this level, I add about a teaspoon of garlic to that. Now, I love garlic, so this also will do, it'll permeate that nice garlic flavor into our meat. It will soak it all up in there. Now that it's starting to reduce a little bit more, this is when I add my fennel to it. So I have approximately about 2 cups of fennel here. Now, you notice me touching this tagine dish. My hands are desensitized to heat because I'm always constantly touching hot stuff. Just because I'm touching it doesn't mean you should. Just letting you know. As you can see, all that liquid is starting to fortify and disappear. We want pretty much all of it to be gone by the time we add our liquid to it to deglaze the pan. Yeah, all that liquid is pretty much all gone. Now it's going to start caramelizing the meat a little bit. I'm waiting for my fennel to clarify a little bit and get nice and soft. So I add a little bit of salt to it to taste, a little bit of pepper. See how my fennel is nice and soft now? That's what we're looking for. And you can hear the sizzle of the clay pot with the meat in it. All right, at this point, I'm gonna add my mushrooms. Let it soak up. Mushrooms are like sponges. You want it to soak up all that beautiful flavor, but you also don't want to overcook them or over saute them. All right, here I have my beef stock. It's about 2 cups. We're gonna add about two cups of garbanzo beans or chickpeas. Okay, we're gonna add our olives. Mix that in there. Olives can be very strong, so just be careful not to add too much. And I'm gonna add another 2 cups of water to this. We need that for liquid. Now, since I'm gonna be adding 1 cup of olive oil to this, you wanna just make sure you don't add too much liquid before. And you see that the oil is all floating on top right now, but as this comes to a simmer and we add the lid to it, all that is just gonna melt into this dish and it's gonna make it fantastic. We're gonna save the tomatoes for a little bit later. I'm gonna add some more onions to this that we chopped up. I am gonna leave the parsley at the bottom here with a little bit of onions. To it, I'm gonna add my chopped up fennel leaves. All right, you want all of this to be covered by liquid as it sits and cooks in there. All right, at this point, all the hard work is done. So all we're gonna do is take the lid to the tagine, leave it on there, and lower the heat to a simmer and let it go for approximately 45 minutes to an hour. So about the 35-minute mark, we're gonna check. Make sure you use a towel to lift the lid, and remember the steam is coming out of that hole. We're gonna check it. If the liquid is reduced too much, you can always add a little bit more liquid to it and let it go until it's completely done and the meat is super tender. Right towards the end, before you remove it from the fire, is when we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients to it, which is the tomatoes, parsley, and the fennel leaves. So as our tagine is simmering, every 10 to 15 minutes, you wanna just give it a little quick stir from the bottom up. As you can see, the olive oil is well incorporated in there right now. Man, I wish you could smell this. It is so aromatic, so great. So every 10 to 15 minutes, just stir it from the bottom up so it doesn't stick at the bottom. Now we're gonna add our parsley and fennel leaves in there. Give it a quick stir. The tenderness of the meat is going to determine when it's done. So you want to constantly taste it after the first 45 minutes. Just take a piece of the meat with a little spoon, taste it, make sure it's nice and tender. And we're going to layer the top with some tomatoes. This we're not going to stir in until the last minute, okay? We're going to cover it with the lid. It's all about patience. It's going to be so good. All right, it's been approximately 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to remove the lid. And this is the finishing touch. We're going to squeeze one entire lime onto this. Because this dish is so heavy, it requires some kind of an acid. If you don't want to add lime, you can add lemon juice to it. We're going to give it one final stir. Look at that. Notice there's no oil floating on top. All that olive oil that we added to it is completely incorporated and thickened up the stock. And it's going to be an amazing, amazing dish. And that smells so good. You can really smell that tagine and Harissa spice on there. And this again can be had by itself, or you can add it to any kind of starch that you like. Amazing. Enjoy, and remember, my friends, always cook with love.